Good morning. In today's lesson, Algebra Lesson 1.5, using properties to add, page 21. Our essential question today is, how can you add more than two add-ins? Okay, so connect. It says you have learned the commutative property of addition, where it states that you can add two or more numbers in any order and get the same sum. So just as a review, for instance, 16 plus 9 is the same as saying start with 9 and add 16 to it. So our math idea today is you can change the order or the grouping of the add-in to make combinations that are easy to add. So commutative property changes the order. The associative property of addition changes the grouping. So the associative property of addition states that you can group add-ins in different ways and still get the same sum. It is also called the grouping property. So associative property is also called the grouping property. So let's look here. 16 plus 7 is grouped, and there are parentheses around it to show that they want you to add 16 plus 7, and then add 23 more. But then on the other side, I see the same three numbers, but this time the 7 and the 23 are grouped. So, unlock the problem. Mrs. Gomez sold 23 cucumbers, 38 tomatoes, and 42 peppers at the farmer's market. How many vegetables did she sell in all? And it says find 23 plus 38 plus 42. And will the sum be closer to 90 or 100? Well, if we rounded these to the nearest 10, we'd get 20 plus 40 plus 40, following our rounding rules. And 20 plus 40 is 60, and 60 and 40 is 100. So I'm going to assume that our sum is going to be closer to 100 than it is to 90. All right, and so look for an easy way to add. It says line up the numbers by place value. So place value, 23, there are 3 ones. 38, there's 8 ones. 42, there are 2 ones. So we want to line up the place values to add. Okay, step 2, group the ones to make them easy to add. Think, how can I make a 10? 8, 3, and 2. Well, if I combine the 8 and the 2, that makes a 10. So we want to add those two numbers together first. So 8 and 2 is 10, plus the 3 gives us 13. Group the 10s to make them easy to add. And so it's saying, if we group 3 and 2, we know that that's 5. And if we group 4 and 1, that is 5. And then 5 and 5 is 10. The 1 comes from the regrouping of the ones. So 103. So 28 plus 38 plus 42 is 103. So Mrs. Gomez sold 103 vegetables in all. So let's review again. First thing we did, we lined up the digits by place value. We then looked at the ones and tried to find two add-ins that would make a 10. And 8 and 2 make a 10. So we combined those first, and then we added the third add-in, the 3 ones. They gave us 13 ones. Well, and we can't write 13 ones. So we regrouped 10 of the ones as 110. And then it said, now combine to make easier problems too. So 3 and 2 is 5, and 4 plus the regrouped 1, 10, gives us 5. And 5 and 5 is 10. All right, let's move on to page 22. All right, use properties to find 36 plus 37 plus 51. Okay, and it says line up the numbers by place value first. So 36, 37, 51, they're lined up by ones and tens. Change the grouping. Well, here I can't make a 10, but 7 and 1 is easier to add than 7 and 6. So we're going to group 7 and 1. So 37 plus 51, we can do in our head. That's 88 because there's no regrouping. So 88, so we're going to add both of those together. And now we're left with 88 and 36. All right, well, we know that 8 plus 6 is 14. Regroup, and we get 12. So 124. So the whole idea of associative property is finding two of the three numbers that are easier to add. All right, try this. Use properties to add. 11 plus 16 plus 19 plus 14. Step 1, line up the digits by place value. Step 2, group numbers so that we can make tens. Well, in this case, we see that 9 and 1 makes a 10, and 6 and 4 makes a 10. So we can rewrite these numbers so that they're next to each other. 11 plus 19, 11 plus 19, 16 plus 14. And 9 and 1 is 10, and 6 and 4 is 10. And 10 plus 10 is 20, so regroup the two. Okay, we know that the four ones is 4 1. The four sets of 110s are 4 10s plus the extra 2 gives us 60. So in this case, we just switch the order of the numbers. And so that's the commutative property. Use the associative property of addition to change the grouping. 17 plus 33 plus 45. So we want to, right now they have us adding 33 and 45. But I see that if I go 7 and 3, that gives me a 10. So let's group 17 and 33 and then add the 45. So 17 plus 33 plus 45. 17 plus 33. 7 and 3 is 10. Regroup the 110, and we get 5. So 5 tens is 50. And now we're going to add the 45. 50 and 45, we can add in our head, and that gives us 95. All right, find the sum, write the addition property you used. So when I'm looking at this, step 1, I see that the numbers have been placed in column by place value. And then I see here they've got 55 and 24. So they've switched the order of the two digits. So that's the commutative property of addition. So all they did was flip the order. By flipping the order, we can now add 6 and 4. That gives us 10. And 10 and 5 is 15. Five and 1 is 6. 6 and 4 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. So 125. In step 3, we didn't change the order, but instead of going 55 plus 46, we actually added that first. So we grouped them differently, and that's the associative property. And I actually wanted to write 70 here. Let me write 70, because 46 plus 24 is 70. And that's how they got to 70 there. All right, let's move on to page 23. Use addition properties and strategies to find the sum. 13 plus 26 plus 54. So let's start by lining them up by place value. Okay, and I see that I can make a 10 by grouping these together. 6 and 4 is 10. 5 and 3 is 80. And then I'm going to add the 13. So that was an example of using the associative property of addition. Because we kept the numbers in the same order, we just grouped the second and third addend instead of doing the first two. All right, number 3. Start by lining up by place value. Okay, so we've lined up all our numbers by place value. And then let's look for tens. Well, I see that 7 and 3 is a 10. So I want to rearrange those numbers so that I have 57 plus 43 plus 62 plus 56. And 53 plus 43, 7 and 3 is 10. 5 and 4 is 9 plus the extra 10. That's 100. 6 and 2 is 8. 6 and 5 is 11. So 11 tens is 118. Combine them, we get 218. We change the order of the numbers we were adding to give us the commutative property. Use addition properties and strategies to find the sum. 18 plus 39 plus 32. Step 1, line them up by place value. Okay, I see, I'm going to try to make a 10. I see that 8 and 2 is a 10. So let's just flip the order of the 39 and the 18. So to go to this step, that was commutative. I changed the order. I changed the order of these two. That's the commutative property. And now I'm going to use the associative property to group the numbers differently. Because right now I should add 39 and 18. But these two are easier to add. So I'm going to use the associative property that says the order in which you group, the way you group addends will not change the sum. 32 and 18 is 50 plus 39. Gives us a sum of 89. 13 plus 49 plus 87. I see that 7 and 3 will make a 10. So let's rewrite this as 49, 13, 87. So to flip or change the order, That's the commutative property. Now I can look and find my 10, which is 13 plus 87. So we're going to group those together first. And that gives me 100. And the property that allows us to group addends differently is the associative property of addition. Okay, and now we have 100 plus 49, 149. 15 plus 76 plus 125. Okay, so I see that 5 and 5 would make a 10. So again, I want to change the order of the 76 and the 15. So to change the order, commutative. And now I'm going to group 125 and 15 by way of the associative property. And 6 and nothing is 6, 11, 11 tens, regroup to 100. 100 plus 100 is 200. So 216. Number 7, 33 plus 71 plus 56 plus 29. So we want to regroup, if possible, to find a 10, a value of 10. And I see that 71 and 29 would give me 10. So 33 plus 56 plus 71 plus 29. So that, again, to change the order of these two numbers is commutative. And now to change how the numbers are grouped, I want to start down here with these two, because that's my 10. 9 and 1 is 10. Regroup to 110, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 100. So by grouping them differently, that's the associative property. I should say commutative property of addition, just to be technically correct. And now we're going to add the 33 and the 56 together, and that gives us 89. Add those two together, we get 189. Okay, number 8. Change the order and the grouping of the addends so that you can use mental math to find the sum. Then find the sum. All right, well, we've been practicing putting them in columns by place value. So let's continue to do that. Okay, and now I see that the 39 and the 11, 9 and 1 is 10. So I want to change the order of these. I want to put the 43 and the 39 in different orders. So now we're going to rewrite it as 43 plus 43 plus 39 plus 11. And we want to group the 39 and 11 first. 9 and 1 is 10. Regroup to 110. 3, 4, 5. 39 plus 11 is 50. Now combine the two 43s. 3 and 3 is 6. 4 and 4 is 8. So if we were doing it underneath here, that would be 50 there. And 86 there. And now let's combine the 86 and the 50. 6 and nothing. 8 and 5 is 13. 136. Okay, so let's review. How was I able to put 39 and 11 together? That's the commutative property. All I did was switch the order of the 39 and the 43. And then I used the associative property to combine the 39 and 11 first. All right, let's move on to page 24. right, problem-solving applications, real world mathematical practices. Number 9, go deeper. Mr. Arnaz bought 32 potatoes, 29 onions, 31 tomatoes, and 28 peppers to make salads for his daily. How many vegetables did he buy? Well, we need 32 potatoes, 29 onions, 31 tomatoes, 28 peppers. So this is an addition problem. 32 plus 28, sorry, meant to say 29. 32 plus 29 plus 31 plus 28. Okay, so do you see any 10s? Well, I see that 9 and 1 is a 10, as well as 8 and 2. So I see that those two are sums of 10s, or will make a 10. So I'm going to rewrite these so that it's 32 plus 28 plus 29 plus 31. 32 and 28 gives us a sum of 60. I'm going to write it down here, 60. 29 and 31 gives us a sum of 60. And 60 and 60, 120 vegetables. Number 10, Miss Chang is baking for the school bake sale. She bought 16 apples, 29 peaches, and 11 bananas at the farmer's market. How many pieces of fruit did she buy? Okay, so this is also addition. We have 16 apples, 29 peaches, 11 bananas. Okay, well, 9 and 1 is easier to add than 9 and 6. So I want to group 29 plus 11. So this would be using the associative property of addition, because we're changing the grouping of the numbers. Instead of adding 16 and 29 first, we're adding 29 and 11 first. And 29 plus 11 is 40. Because 9 and 1 is 10, we'd have 1 10 regrouped, 2, 3, 4, 40. And now we'd add the 16. So we'd have 56 pieces of fruit. All right, so now let's move on to number 11 on page 24. And you're going to apply which strategy or which property the person used or could use to find the missing number. And right now it's some number plus 8 plus 32. Well, if we rewrote it as some number plus 8 plus 32 equals 49, we'd be using the associative property of addition. Because here we had the unknown number plus 8 grouped together, and then they were adding 32. But now, if we write it this way, we have some number plus 40 equals 49. Well, now I know easily that 9 is my missing number, because 40 plus 9 is 49. Okay, number 12. Change the order or grouping to find the sum, and explain how you use properties to find the sum. So we have 63 plus 86 plus 77. And our whole goal in this lesson has been to see if we can find two numbers that would give us make a 10. Two numbers that would make a 10. And I see that 7 and 3 would make a 10. So first, So first we're going to use the commutative property of addition to flip the 86 and the 73. So instead we're going to have, let me write it over here, I'm sorry. So we're going to flip the order, keep the 63 first, but we're going to flip the 77 and the 86. Okay, and now we're going to add 63 and 77. 63 and 77 is 140. Because 7 and 3 is 10, regroup the 110. 6 and 1 is 7, 7 and 7 is 14. So 140. And now I'm going to add the 6, which will give me a sum of 226. Then what we do? We added 63 plus 77 to get 140. And then added 86 to get 226. All right. And finally, number 13. For numbers 13a through 13d, choose yes or no to tell whether the number sentence shows the associative property of addition. All right, so bottom line, associative property is simply how numbers are grouped. Are the numbers on one side of the equal sign grouped differently than the numbers on the right-hand side? Not the order, but are they grouped differently? So 86 plus 7 plus 93. 86 plus 7 plus 93. So that's a clue right there that this is probably going to be associative. The numbers are in exactly the same order. Okay, in this one, we have 86 and 7 grouped. On this side, we have 7 and 93. Clearly, they are being grouped differently, the associative property. In 13b, 86 plus 7, 7 plus 86. So we do have the same numbers, but they're in different order. That's not the associative property, that's the commutative property. Commutative property says that the way in which the order of the numbers are added will not change the sum. So commutative property doesn't have anything to do with how they're grouped. It just has to do with the order. So 13b is no. 13c, 86 plus 0 equals 86. We know that any number added to 0 is known as the identity property of addition. So that's not. 86 equals 80 plus 6. Well, all they did here was they broke up the 80 plus the 6. So that's more of a strategy than a property. So this one is also not the associative property. So the only one that has the same numbers grouped differently was 13a. Okay, so now you should be able to complete the online lesson 1.5 in Go Math. If you have any questions, stop and ask me or rewatch the video. The questions in the book are very similar to the questions you'll be doing online. So use your book to help you. All right, until tomorrow. Bye.